Hello, my name is Badr Belhaj. I chose the topic of Isaac Storm, Man, a Time, and the Deadliest Hurricane in History by Eric Larson. I'm going to take you back to September 8, 1900. Mr. Maris had never seen such a beautiful daybreak. The sky seemed to be made of mother of pearls, gloriously pink, yet continuing a fish-scale effect, which reflected all the colors of rainbow. Within hours, however, this glorious first sight, or first light, in Galveston, Texas, would be transformed into a disaster of unimaginable proportions. The city has never seen like it, one that would devastate the seaside town and claim the lives of an estimated 8,000 to 10,000 people as the deadliest hurricane blew in from the Gulf of Mexico. Isaac was a meteorologist, the man stationed in Galveston for the new U.S. Weather Office. He believed he knew all there was to know about the motion of clouds and the behavior of storms. The idea that a hurricane could damage the city of Galveston, Texas, where he was based, was to him an absurd delusion. Isaac's storm is based on Isaac's own letters, telegrams, and reports. The testimony of scores of survivors, and the latest understanding of hows and whys of great storms. Ultimately, however, it's the story of what can happen when human arrogance meets nature-lost great uncontrollable force. As such, Isaac's storm carries a warning for our time. In Cuba, Americans' overconfidence was made all too obvious by the Weather Office's obsession with controlling hurricane forecasts. Even though Cubans' intelligent weathermen had pioneered hurricane science, as the office's forecasters assured the nation that all was calm and ready to go in the Caribbean, Cubans' own weathermen fretted about immense signs in the sky. Only a few unlucky sea captains discovered that the storm had achieved an intensity no man alive had experienced. In Galveston, reassured by Isaac's brief that no hurricane could seriously damage the city, there was celebration. Children played in the rising water. Hundreds of people gathered at the beach to marvel at the fantastically tall waves and gorgeous pink sky, and as the surf began ripping the city-beloved beachfront apart. Within the next few hours, Galveston would endure a hurricane that, to this day, remains the nation's deadliest natural disaster. In Galveston alone, at least 6,000 people, possibly more, would lose their lives, and Isaac would experience his own unbearable loss. And now let's talk about the losses that caused by this hurricane. The losses were extraordinary. So many kids died, houses flooded down the streets, and the water raised above 30 feet in the Gulf of Mexico. And from the story of Dr. Young, we could see that the speed of the wind was 125 miles per hour. And that was one of the causes that we started adjusting the codes of the building. When we build a house, start coding 140 miles per hour and above, especially in those areas. So here's the book that is telling us the story. The book is called Isaac Storm by Eric Larson. The book was published in 1999, written through a perspective of the director of Galveston section of the U.S. Weather Office. So the city of Galveston hit by Hurricane Category 4, and after that we start adjusting the codes. When we build houses, we have to look at those codes. An engineer will tell you that you have to look at those codes before you build a house to ensure safety. So Mr. Larson's perspective throughout the book, he brings insight to the forces that drive storms and storm damage, knowledge not available to weather observers at the end of the 19th century. He also revealed how rivalry between weather offices in the United States and Cuba contributed to the U.S. Weather Office's failure to provide sufficient storm warnings. Despite Cuban experts' warning of the hurricane, the U.S. Weather Office decided not worthy of public attention. Later, the U.S. Weather Office would take credit for issuing the proper warnings, despite Isaac's feeble protest of the lie, and Isaac would one day wonder about the measure of his own responsibility for thousands of lives lost. Mr. Larson calls into question Isaac's official account of the Weather Office actions, highlights problems in the Weather Office forecasting difficulty, better to use old formulas, almanac, centralized control of forecasts, superior attitude, fueled with Cuban forecasts, disable communication coming out of Cuba. At the end, I'd like to thank you for listening to this presentation. Please leave me a comment below if you have any questions. Thank you.